Tom that I have no idea what I just consented to. Um, Tom's our head of engineering and our privacy security guru. So if he saw what I just did, he probably would not be real happy with me. That I have no idea what I just. There we go. All right, we are officially live on YouTube. So some housekeeping business before we get started, because I've already got a few people putting some stuff in the Q&A box, which is great. If you have questions throughout the webinar, please put those into the Q&A box. If you don't have questions and you just want to share some cool stuff, or you have ideas, thoughts, aha moments, that goes into the chat window, and we'll be sure to take care of that. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and share our screens here and we'll get started. So welcome to Reigniting the Spark with Book Creator. We are super excited to share this back to school information with you. I'm sure all of you are kind of in this middle of this like wishy-washy zone where you're not happy because it's back to school, but you're also happy because you're kind of going back to school and it means consistency and routines. I know that's where I'm at. I have 3 children and I am praying for them to go back to school as soon as possible because it kind of messes up the flow, right? When you're home working from home and you got 3 kids. So anyway, let's start off with some introductions, Catherine. For those of us that don't know who you are you and what do you do?
Hi, everyone. I'm Catherine Capiello. I cannot relate to John because I don't have any kids yet. I can't imagine what it's like working from home and having a bunch of kids running around. So I don't know how you do it some days, John.
I don't
either. But I'm Book Creator Cat on Twitter. So if you are on Twitter, you can give me a follow. Just like John, we always send out lots of updates, resources, book creator stuff. So definitely give us a follow. My email is catherine@bookcreator.com. So if you ever have any questions, feel free to email me. And I work with teachers around the world and help them really integrate Book Creator into their curriculum, get them excited about using Book Creator and so forth. And before Book Creator, I was a classroom teacher for about 9 years and worked with students from kindergarten all the way up through 10th grade. And loved what I did when I was in the classroom, but I also love what I do now working for Book Creator. And I've been with Book Creator now for a little over 3.5 years. So yeah, happy to be here. I'll also help answer some questions. So feel free to stick those in the chat, or in the Q&A box, just like John was saying.
All right. Thanks, Catherine. And my name is John Smith. For real. I am the iPod teacher on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter, great. If not, no worries. I won't be offended if you or X, whatever they call it now. I won't be offended.
X, yeah.
X. I won't be offended if you don't follow me because my wife doesn't follow me either. So it's totally cool if you don't. But I'm also John Smith at bookcreator.com. So feel free to reach out to me or to Catherine at either place. We're always happy to chat. Taught special ed for 12 years, mostly 5th and 6th grade. And then I was a tech integration specialist for 7 years, mostly at a high school. 19 years later, here I am at Book Creator as their senior teacher success manager in my 5th year. Now, Catherine, I thought that when they told me I was senior teacher success, I thought it was a promotion, but I realized it's really probably because I'm the 4th oldest person in the company. So I don't think it has anything to do with anything other than the fact that I'm old. But I am senior teacher success manager here. So lots of webinars, lots of conferences, keynotes, school visits, basically anything that Catherine and I can do to help schools best utilize their licenses. Like she said, that's what we're here for. So really excited to be here today. Married, got 3 kids, 12, 9, and 6, love golf. And probably most of you don't, just because that seems to be the trend lately. I ask if anybody loves golf and most people say no, but this one usually gets hands raised. Does anybody have a dirty car? Because if you do, I'm a certified auto detailer, and on the side, I love cleaning dirty vehicles. So if you're anywhere near Ohio and you need that dirty ride cleaned, come see me, and I will be more than happy to do that for you. All right, so we are going to kick it off here. Good question. Let's hit off with this question. Oh, Catherine's typing the answer to it, so we're all set there. All right, so we're going to jump right into our back to school webinar here tonight. All right, and the first thing we want to kick off here with is this really awesome back to school website. So we're going to share this book with you later. But here on our website, just going to give you a quick little preview before we continue through the book. Lots and lots of resources and information that you're going to have tons of fun taking a look at. So if you're a teacher, you can click right here where this bouncy button says teachers. And if you're an admin, you can click over here on the admin button and you will get tons of resources. We have loads of upcoming webinars that are right here at the bottom of this little scrolling thing. So tons and tons of information for you. And again, we're going to share the link out to this book later, so you can always go back in there. And some of the stuff that I just talked about, we're going to go into a deeper dive here in just a few minutes. But when it comes to back to school, I think one of the first things that we need to discuss is housekeeping. All right, because getting rid of all of the old libraries, cleaning out all of the old students and things like that is important, because if you don't do it, then your library might look like mine or Catherine's, and this is a hot mess. So you do not want your libraries to look like that. All right, so you want to do something to make this a little more organized, all right, and a little more user-friendly for you. All right, so first off with housekeeping, one of the more important things is getting rid of those libraries that you don't need anymore. All right, and so what we do have is the ability for you to archive your libraries. All right, so any library that you don't want, you can archive, and you simply click the three dots right here at the bottom of your library and say archive. And what that does is it basically fake deletes your library and stuffs it right here under this little drop down that says archived libraries. And so any of the libraries that you have archived will be right there in that drop down, and you can click on them and bring them back to life at any point. If you're on the free version of Book Creator, that archive button is probably going to be your friend so that you can use those 40 books inside that one library. If you're on the unlimited version and you have hundreds and hundreds of libraries, it's just going to clean up your view so that it doesn't look like my section right here in my libraries. So archiving libraries is a great way to, like I said, get rid of that stuff that you don't need, all right, for this coming school year. Now, we didn't really discuss this in the housekeeping thing, but I do want to mention it briefly because I do think this is important. A lot of teachers would say, well, what happens to the books? Like, can my students still view them, if I archive a library? And that is a great question. And the answer is, it depends. So I want to throw out some of my own thoughts on this idea. If you archive a library, just getting rid of the books, your students will not be able to access those books or edit those books any longer. All right, they kind of just vanish from the student libraries, they vanish from your libraries, and they get put into that archive section. However, if you publish individual books, then the books that are published are still visible. All right, so for example, if I go into this library here and I publish this new book so that I'm sharing it with, mom and dad and grandmas and grandpas of John Smith, then it's cool. When I go to archive the library, it will let me do that. And that link is still active. All right. So any student that you've had in the past, if you want to send off that information to parents, you can do that and then archive the library. And as long as they have the link, they'll have the book. The flip side to that is if you publish an entire library of books. All right. So this library right here, this Twima Projects library, I actually, instead of publishing individual books, I publish the whole library. So I get one link. I send it to parents. They can see every book that's in there. If you have a published library, you cannot archive the library. All right. So you can only archive the library on individually published books, not published libraries. All right. So I definitely I wanted you to know that because I think it's really, really important. Okay. Another thing that is important when you are making new libraries for next year is to note that we have some changes. All right. So when you go to create a new library, there might be some new things that you haven't seen before. So we want to make sure that you are aware of what is going on in that section. All right. And so I am pulling something up here. Here we go. I just wanted to make sure I'm looking at the right thing here before we get too far. All right. So when you go to create a new library, you are probably used to the fact that you have to put in the name of your library, and then we have some toggles, but we've made some changes in these toggles. And so I want to talk about those just briefly. First up is our image search. All right. Love our image search, built right into Book Creator, and it's from Pixabay. All right. But one of the things that does happen in our image search is if you scroll all the way to the bottom, after all the Pixabay images, there is a little button that says try Google instead. And some teachers and some districts don't like that. So right here where it says search for images, you have three options. Yes, I want to search for images. No, I do not want to search for images. So maybe you want kids taking their own pictures or drawing their own pictures, things like that. Or limited. And if you change it to limited, then the only search option that is available within Book Creator is Pixabay. All right. And again, for Pixabay, images are free to use, free to modify, and safe. All right. So if you're looking for the most free, most copyright images and safest, that's the best option right there. The Google images are also safe and copyright free. But some people, like I said, they don't want to use the Google images. They just want Pixabay. So that's how you can change it. Then down here, these ones are all pretty much the same. Edit books. Students can read each other's books. Students can turn on collaboration and students publish. Catherine, I know you used to teach with some of the high school kids. For me, as mostly elementary, I always turn these ones off just because I don't want kids publishing and turning on collaboration without my knowledge. So I just usually turn those off. But again, it's up to you. It's up to your situation and your group of students. For me, I turn them off. And then the last one is comments. So a while back, I keep saying new, but it was what, a year ago, Catherine, that we added comments and feedback to Book Creator. And at the time, if you did not want students to comment back to you, it had to be a per book option. You had to turn it off per book. Now you can actually turn that off per library. So if you don't want students commenting back to you, you can turn that off right there. All right. So those are some of the new, or not new, but the housekeeping bits that you may want to or may want to use. Oh, I forgot one too. If you want to expire the code to a library, all right, you can certainly do that as well. So one thing that I have seen happen is, you invite your students to the library, they get busy making books in there, school year ends, and you go into that library and you're like, wait a minute, who is that kid? I don't know who that kid is. And sometimes maybe your kids share the code with another student. And so if you don't want anybody else new joining your library, you can click on the button where it says invite code and expire the code. And what that does is it allows any student that's already in your library to stay, but any new students cannot join your library. So if you have that situation happen, you can get rid of that so that kids cannot join it. And then you can also remove the students, right? So if I click the drop down here and I see all of these students in here and I'm like, ugh, who's Kim? I don't know who this Kim person is. I can click the three dots and I can remove that user from the library. And then they are no longer in there and that code is expired. So if they put in the old code, they're not getting in there. They're not seeing that. All right. So some really awesome housekeeping business there. And we do have a few other things. So when we do share this book out a little bit later, if you click on this section right here that says housekeeping, there might be a couple of other little tidbits that you might be interested in as well. All right. So moving on to our next page, Catherine. For some people, it's been quite a while, right? They're seasoned Book Creator veterans. They've been in there forever. I just got off a webinar not too long ago, and somebody's like, oh, I used Book Creator 3 years ago, and I haven't seen it since. I bet there's some big time updates. Well, we've got lots and lots of new features. So, Catherine, what are some of the new features that we've got going on here in Book Creator?
Yes. So one of our newest features, and someone mentioned it earlier, are going to be graphic organizers.
Ooh, tell us more.
Yeah. So if it is one of our apps, so you do need to know about our app store. So if you exit the library and go out to your teacher dashboard, you're going to go to your app store. And you're going to notice that there is a new little tag. So obviously you're going to know that that's where it's going to be located at. And it's going to be also have a flag on it that says new. And that is where the graphic organizers are going to be. Now you have to enable the graphic organizers for you to use as a teacher, and also enable them if you like your students to use them too. So you enable them, you'll notice that John's clicking on each library that you want to have your those students part of those libraries, for them to have access to those specific graphic organizers. So he clicked on 3 different libraries, or you can select all of your libraries for your students and then just click done. He has enabled them for him as the teacher, as well as those specific libraries. Now, when you go back to a library, or back into library you're working on into a book, when you select the plus button, you're going to select the more area where that rocket ship is, and then the app of graphic organizers will pop up. When you click on those graphic organizers, we have made in-house over 100 graphic organizers for your students to really organize their thinking. With these graphic organizers, they can add multimedia to their graphic organizers. Now, the ones that have a crown on them are going to be for premium access. The ones that do not have a crown on them are going to be free graphic organizers. We do have a chunk of free graphic organizers they can use. So when you want to use one, John picked the problem tree. You just click on add to book, and it adds a new page into the book that's where your graphic organizer is. Now, what's really great about it is you can double click into any one of these circles or boxes, and students can just start typing in them, which makes it very simple for them. They could they could add text on top of them if you wanted them to do it that way, or they can add a record button on top of them. They could add an image on top of them. We're giving them options of ways that they want to demonstrate their understanding or organize their thinking. Right. Anything you want to add, John?
No, I love graphic organizers. And I think what I like most about it too is that here on this page, or when you go to choose a graphic organizer, it's like, oh yeah, the problem tree looks pretty cool. But then we also give you the other section, right? So it's kind of like, I like the problem tree, but here's others that are kind of related to it. So if you don't 100% like the problem tree, you can then go back in and you can, change it, or you can find one that's similar, but different. So anyway, yeah, absolutely love the graphic organizers, and they are fantastic. And I think the other thing I love about the graphic organizers is it really gets you thinking about using Book Creator, not just as that end of month project, not just at the end of the quarter project. You can use Book Creator to document the learning process the entire way. So it's not just the final thing. It's here's the whole process of what I did and the final result kind of at the same time. So absolutely love that. All right. Other new features, Catherine, is there anything specific that pops out to you that you want to talk about that you like?
Yes, the other new feature that we have that's quite fun is the eyedropper tool when you are picking different colors.
All right, the eyedropper. And because of the eyedropper, I'm going to go back to our problem tree. All right. And the reason I'm going to go to a problem tree is because sometimes finding the right color is the problem. It is the problem. So I don't know how many of you are like me, but I might look at this graphic organizer and be like, you know what? That is cool. I love this green down here at the bottom. And I want to add a shape, right? That's that same green. All right. I want to add another extra bubble in here, but I want it to be green. I don't want it to be white. So what my thought process normally was I'll just click the shape. I'll go to the inspector. I'll click on the color, and I'll go to the plus button, and I'll just start fiddling around with green until I find something that I think is close. right? And I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. And then I click apply and I'm like, whoa, that's hideous. That's not anywhere near the color green that I wanted. And so what you can do now is click the shape, click the inspector, and click your color. And then when you go to the plus button to create a color, right here at the top, next to the word custom, is a little eyedropper tool. And so now I can click the eyedropper and I can go down here, find that exact green that I want, or black, or white, or this color, or that color. I can go find any of the colors I want, click on it, and click apply. And now that shape is the exact same green as it was down here at the bottom. So it sounds silly, right? But I know that 97% of you have run into that exact same situation that I just talked about, right? And if you haven't, then you're unique, right? Because like most people have that issue. They're like, it's close enough. It's close enough. So there you go. That is the eyedropper tool, and definitely one of my favorites. All right. Catherine, any other new features that we want to highlight real quick before we move on?
Yes, another one is that you can now create books into QR codes. So the link in a book, when you're in read mode, or when you publish a book and you're in read mode, or even when you're not in read mode, just publish the book, you have the option to create a QR code. And one of my favorite things to use these QR codes for are to create bulletin boards for your students. So you can print out the cover of the book, or you can just have the QR code and a bulletin board, or take a picture of the student, make an author, all about the author bulletin board. But then parents and families can come around, or even other students in the school can come around with their devices and scan the books and get to read what other students are writing. And remember that every time you scan that and someone reads the book, it tracks the number of reads. So it's a really powerful tool, and it really engages students to get to write more and get them to share their books with others.
And I also love the QR code for librarians. All right. So if you have kids that come in and read books in the library, have them use Book Creator to write a book review. And then you print the QR code out, stick it on the book in the library. And when the kids go in, they pull the book off the shelf and they see a QR code, the first thing they're going to want to do is scan it. And so they scan that QR code, they read somebody else's book review and say, yep, going to read that book, or nope. And they stick it back on the shelf and they find another one, right? So I really love that QR code. Definitely one of my absolute favorites. All right. And then the last one, Catherine, I get so excited. I just totally forget that we even made pages for some of this stuff. So anyway, one of my other favorites is this one, this new PDF import. All right. And so I love the PDF import. And there's a couple ways you can get it. You can go to the new book button and import a PDF that way, or you can click the plus button, go to more, and actually click where it says files, and you can bring in a PDF right from your computer. And when you bring in the PDF, it's going to ask, do you want it on the page, or do you want it embedded on the page? And I love making it a page itself. And so I click confirm. It takes that PDF and it now puts it straight into Book Creator. And I love this, especially as we're getting into the new year, because now I can use this PDF and turn Book Creator into some kind of interactive journal, interactive notebook. It's really awesome. And of course, you can click the plus button and add all of the Book Creator goodies right on top of that PDF. But guess what? It's even better, because you click the PDF and click the pencil, and now you can even write on top of the PDF. And if you don't like some of the stuff there, you can even click the eraser, and you can actually just go through and erase some of the stuff that you don't like right there on the PDF. And you can really personalize it. Maybe you want to change some of the questions. Maybe you want to get rid of the rat and cat. You can do that. Really, really powerful. And I absolutely love the ability to bring in those PDFs. And I'll be honest, Catherine, I was not 100% sold when that first came out. I was like, I don't know if this is like total S on the SAMR model. I was like, I'm not sure this is great. And now I love it. I love it, because it's going to save all of you time. Instead of printing out PDFs and things like that, you can bring them straight into a book. So definitely one of my favorites. All right, we talked about QR codes and the eyedropper again because I just got completely sidetracked with excitement. Totally forgot that we had made pages. But in the chat window, what is your favorite feature? It could be one of the new ones that we just shared with you, or it could be something like an old goodie, right? An oldie but a goodie. What are your favorite features within Book Creator that make a big impact on your classrooms? Right, we got lots of love for the PDF stuff there. All right. Excellent. All right. Well, keep putting stuff in the chat window as we go along. Judy loves the graphic organizers, the eyedropper tool. Yes. Oh, hi, Wendy. Excited about the eyedropper. Yes, fantastic. Wendy is doing some great stuff with Book Creator, and I can't wait. Hopefully, one of these days, Wendy, we can get out there and we can share some of that with the world. But Wendy's doing some great stuff with Book Creator in her district. So awesome. And Jasmina likes all of them. Yes, that's my favorite answer too, right? Just everything. All right, Catherine, what are some best practices as teachers get ready to go back to school?
I think the best practices, we were going to go over how they're going to get some of those resources from the main page. So if you want to go to the web, if you want to go in the book, just show them in the book how to go to that page.
So
in the book.
So in our book, here's where we have our link to the website. So again, we will publish the link to this book and put it in a chat window before we end our webinar. But right here is a link to the website. All right. And so when you click on this, like we mentioned earlier, it's going to take you here to the website, and you're going to be able to see the resources that you might want. So if you're a teacher, click here. If you're an admin, you can click here. And so when you click on the teacher button, all right, we've got our back to school for teachers stuff, and we have an awesome activity book right here. And we're going to talk about this here in a second, but it's really simple. You click get the template, it pulls up the template, and right down here it says remix. And you just simply click remix, choose the library that you want it to go into, and then copy the book, and it will put this book into your library, and that book then can be edited and changed and do whatever you want with it. All right. Now, what's even cooler about this is that some of these books have really awesome things that you can use with your kids, not just for you, but you can use them with your students. And Catherine and I are big fans of All About Me pages and All About Me books. So we've got some All About Me stuff here that you can do with your students. And again, all of this will be able to be edited and remixed so that you can make it useful for your own students. Favorite things. Maybe you want to get to know your kids and have them put down pictures of some of their favorite things, which is really fantastic. What's in my locker? Right? As older kids, maybe they want to personalize their locker. Maybe they're not allowed to personalize their lockers anymore. You can have them personalize a digital locker right here inside of Book Creator. Maybe an idea is to ask the kids about their summer break. What did they do over the summer? What did they have fun with? What did they learn? Having kids, I don't know why, Catherine, this one always makes me think of my son. All right. So like having them design their own coat of arms. All right. And some kids may not know what a coat of arms is at this point, but my son, you know what he said? He's like, I want to create my own logo. All right. So having students creating their own brand is interesting, right? And so using this idea of being able to create their own logos, their own brands. I love this activity, Find a Classmate Who. What I think is really awesome about this activity is that you may not think that you have that much in common with some of the other kids in your classroom, but in actuality, you might, right? So you start walking around, you try to find somebody who has brown eyes, somebody who likes broccoli. We know that's not going to be any student in there, so you might want to change that. Who likes tacos, right? I'm kidding. I don't like broccoli. My kids like broccoli. But who plays soccer? All these different ones, and you can edit any of these, all right? Hopes and dreams for the school year. Having kids have goals, that's important. Class pledges, coming up with goals for the class, right? So lots of really awesome activities right there in that that part of that book. All right, so that's the activity book. We do also have an idea for teachers. All right. So these are teacher created resources. And so again, very similar to what we just did, except maybe some more ideas for teachers. And so I love this as school is starting to come up, having an about the teacher page, right? Meet the teacher so that, I'm going to pick on Caitlin here, for example. Right. So Caitlin, she and I used to work together. My students go to the district that Caitlin is in, and my daughter goes to Caitlin's school. And so, we got this message this morning that said we will find out who our teachers are on August 14th, right? That's when my students will know who they have for teachers next year. So what if the teachers, when they send out their messages through Parent Square and say, hey, I'm going to be your teacher, instead of just writing a bunch of stuff about who they are, have the teachers create an about the teacher book. And so the teachers can say, here's my favorite things. Here's what I do for hobbies. Here's what you're going to expect in the school year coming up. There's a lot of really awesome stuff. Throw in some pictures, throw in some audio. It's going to be a lot of fun. Those same teachers in schools can create staff directory books so that the students and parents know who's in the school. Maybe a map of the school. I don't know. Maybe when I got into high school, the high school was so big, I was so confused. I didn't know where to go. It was just massive. So maybe we create a map of the school and draw lines and videos showing where kids are going to go throughout the year. Maybe you want to put a video in and make it look like the Blair Witch Project, and you're literally just walking through the school with your GoPro showing kids where stuff is at. I don't know. It's totally up to you, right? But there's a lot that you can do in these awesome, teacher activity books. Meet the Principal, classroom rules, staff guides. Shout out to my former district, right? There's one of our PD menus that we had created in the past. I know that school hasn't even started yet for most of you, and we're already going to start talking about a yearbook. Yeah, this is the perfect time to start talking about a yearbook because it's the beginning of the year. You just start collecting all this information, all these photos, all these activities that you do throughout the year into one of our yearbook templates. And then at the end of the year, you take that link, you send it home to parents and say, here you go. Here's a digital version of our book and what we did throughout the year. All right. So absolutely love that version and those templates that are in that in those books there. So I definitely want you to check those out. Catherine, I'm seeing a lot of cool stuff going through the chat window here. Am I missing anything or anything that we need to answer live?
There was one in the Q&A that I thought you could, if you had any more ideas around the book reviews for QR codes.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that, library media specialists, you see a lot of kids, and a lot of times you just see them in small increments, right? When a teacher comes in, they bring them into the library at a certain time. And so I've seen a few library media specialists who will create their own book clubs, right? During certain times of the day. Maybe it's at a study hall, or maybe it's during recess or lunch periods or things like that. And so it's a great opportunity for you to work with groups of students and do things like book reviews. And so a book review could be written, it could be audio, it could be video, it could be a combination of all of those. And so as your kids are reading reading books in the library during your book club, when they're done, they can make a quick review, make it a page, make it a couple pages. And then you just simply publish that book and get that QR code. And then you just print that QR code out, slap it on those books in the library. And then as kids are coming into the library and they pull books from the shelf, they can see that QR code and decide if they want to use it. You could also steal Catherine's idea, which I think is a fantastic idea too, and just make a big bulletin board full of QR codes. And then all of book reviews, right? And then when the kids come into the library, they see all those QR codes, they scan one and they're like, that sounds like an awesome book. And then they can come to you and say, well, where do I find it? I got to read this book, right? And so then they can make their own book reviews afterwards too and say, you know what? I agree with Catherine. I thought this was a really cool book. Or, you know what? Catherine's way off target. That book was terrible, right? And they can make their own book reviews. So I think that's a really, really awesome feature there. All right. Yeah, I like when there's a book creator for professional development. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Is there a link? Oh, good question. Is there a link to where and how teachers can share a template? That's a good one, Catherine. I think we were going to kind of talk about this anyway, as best practices. So, Catherine, do you want to explain the best way for teachers to share templates and get templates out there for kids?
Yeah. So John showed how to remix a little bit about how to get a book to remix it. And then once it's in the library that you have remixed it in, to get it out to your students, what's going to happen is you're going to want to invite them to that specific library where you have that copy. You're going to want to put a copy of that template in that classroom library for them. Normally I name it like copy me, or just like John did, template copy this book. Then what you're going to want to tell them to do is make a copy of it. So they're going to click on that little book options button and click copy book. Now, when they click copy book, they have to put it into the same library, which is going to be highlighted in blue. They click on that, and what will happen is when they click on it, another copy will pop right up in front of them. And now they can rename this whatever they would like. I suggest having their name in the title, which is going to be very helpful to you. So it could be John Smith's copy, or whatever you want, a back to school book or whatever. And they can also put their name as the author. My suggestion during this time in your library settings is to turn off that other students can read everyone's books. Because what can be very confusing is if all of a sudden 1 million books start popping up in the library, some students could get confused, or some students might be like, what's going on with all these other books? So just turn that off so they can only focus on your template book and their books.
And Catherine, another one too, I just thought about this. That helps students kind of narrow down the focus, right? So instead of looking at 35 books, they're looking at just their book. So I love that option. But for teachers, how do we narrow our focus down, right? Because I might look at this book, this library, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's 35 books in here. One says copy, one says copy, one says copy, because the kid forgot to put their name on it. So guess what? Right here at the top, there's a little drop down. Click the drop down. And instead of seeing everyone's books, you can simply click on the student. All right. So here I see Catherine. I click on Catherine, and I'm only looking at Catherine's books. So from a teacher perspective, this is really cool, right? Because now I can narrow it down. Now, in this case, obviously, Catherine didn't have any books yet. So we'll just go back to me, or we go back to everyone, and we can see all of their books. So really, really amazing options there. Now, another option for sharing templates that I think is a really cool one. So if this teacher makes this book a template and it's got a bunch of pages, all right, I've had this happen way too many times where I will simply say to the kids, hey, make a copy of this book, and they do. And I'll say, okay, it's Monday. I want you to do pages 2 and 3, and that's it. No more. Now, if you're like my class, or if you have kids like I had in my class, you know exactly what's going to happen next. They're not going to listen. They're going to see this whole book, and they're going to be like, I want to do page 7. I want to do page 10. I want to do the rest of it, right? And they're just going to work ahead. So one of Catherine and I, one of our favorite kind of things is, instead of giving them the whole template, you could just say to the kids, hey, make a new book. All right. So you have the kids make a new book, and you say, design a cover, and they design this beautiful cover, and that's it. That's all they do. And then on the next day, you go into your template, you go to pages view, and you say to the kids, you know what? I want them to do the first 3 pages. So you hit select, you pick the first 3 pages, and you say copy to, and you go into your library, which I lost. There it is. And you see all of the student covers. And then you click the button at the top, and it check marks all of the books. And then you say copy pages, and it takes those 3 pages and it dumps those 3 pages into the back of everybody's books. So a very easy way to narrow their focus so that they're not trying to answer all of the pages inside of your template books. All right. So again, just something to think about when we're talking about best practices. All right. Okay. We're coming close to the end of our time here. All right. That tip alone made the webinar worth it. Awesome. See, we may not have had you for the first 20 minutes or so, but boom, we got you now, right, Judy? So that's all that matters. Okay. So we are going to go into a next phase, and we've got some interesting did you knows that maybe you want to be prepared for as we go back to school. Thank you, Jasmine. I appreciate that. We appreciate that a lot. Catherine, did we know what?
Yes. So we have 6 webinars in August. So when you're in this book, if you would like to attend another webinar, feel free to click on this. I'm sure you probably found this you might have found this webinar this way. You might have found a different way, but check out our additional webinars, and you can send this to your other educator friends. And then a really exciting one that you definitely want to enter is our Clear the List opportunity. So we are actually going to, I believe it's $500, right? Yeah. Help clear the list for 3 teachers' Amazon wish lists. And we're going to clear up to $500 worth of goodies on your Amazon wish list. So if you can just stick your Amazon link there. If you haven't created a clear list yet, go ahead and create one and enter to win. And we're going to pick 3 lucky winners.
And you know what? I know what some of you are thinking. I never win anything.
Right?
You know what? It takes 6 seconds to fill it out. Do it, right? Because you never know. And you know what happens?
And I feel like a lot of people also say the same thing, so then we don't actually get a lot of entries. So, yeah.
I'm going to use my son as an example because he's not here right now, and I can do this. All right. So there was a summer reading program, right, at our local library, and my daughters just went bonkers, right, on the summer reading program, and my son decided to be a little bit lazy about it. And every time my daughters went into the library to submit more of their reading, the lady in there was like, "Is your son going to submit anything?" Because nobody else did. And like all he had to do is literally show up and put his face there on a page and write his name down that he read a book, and he would have won something, and he didn't do it. So like, you never know. We put this out there, but some of the teachers are like, I don't know. I probably shouldn't do this because I'll never win. You might be the only person on that list because everybody else said the exact same thing. All right. So you never know. Now, the how to enter, Catherine and I are going to publish this book, all right, later in the webinar, and that link will be right here inside the book. So all you have to do is just go through the book and click on the link here that says clear the list. So we'll make sure you get it there. All right, Catherine, this one piqued my interest just because it says, did you know? And then it puts the words free right inside of the speech, the thought bubble there. So free what?
Okay, so this is another one. So this is for administrators. So if you're an administrator, or you can send this to one of your administrators, this is the back to school hub, but it's if you click the for admins button, okay? So if you go scroll down for the for admins, and if you keep scrolling down, there's a section that your administrator can fill out, and keep scrolling. There you go. And there's a back to school offer. And so we are giving away free bundles of licenses for administrators to help support teachers. And they're going to get free premium access. So think about your coaches in your buildings, technology specialists, anyone that's going to be helping support teachers, they're going to get free premium access. So they just have to fill this out and meet with one of our team members. And we're also going to be giving away some free swag to schools. So definitely send this over to them, or if you are an administrator, fill that out. And you can get free swag for your school, as well as free bundles of licenses. And you can select who you're giving those licenses to. So I highly recommend checking that out too.
And Catherine said free, right? Which is pretty
Free.
cool. And I happen to know the swag person too. She sends out pretty cool swag buttons and swag packages. So anyway, yes, really awesome. All right, I did see a couple questions pop up in the Q&A box. What's the difference or pros and cons of insert versus embed? And I'm assuming that it could mean the PDF or it could just mean in general inserting a link or embedding. Here's my own personal 2 cents on this one. If you insert a link, it kind of looks like garbage. A lot of times it's just a long link or some blue text. That's it. If you embed something onto a page, then it'll look a lot better. It'll look like this, right? Where we've got, whoops, that was a link. But it'll look very similar here, except it won't have the link button. It's just going to be embedded right there into the book. Visually, I think it looks much better. And I think a lot of times it's a little easier for kids to see and click on as long as they see it, and as opposed to like a little bit of blue text somewhere else on the page, right? So I like embedding things a lot more than I like just linking things. All right, well, that brings us to this part of our webinar where we are just going to see if there are any additional questions, aha moments, things like that. If you don't have any, thank you for being here. We do appreciate it. Hopefully you've learned something new. Hopefully you're excited. I don't know. Maybe you just want us to leave. Whatever the case may be, we hope you had a good time, and we hope that you have a great back to school season, school year. We published this book. Let's copy the link. We're going to put that link right back here into the chat window. I can't remember, Catherine, if you did that already or not, but we'll do it again.
I'm not. There it is.
Yeah. All right, there it is. So inside that book, that link that we just put in the chat window, that's where you're going to get all the links to all the resources. If you don't want to fish through the book, you can also go to our website, and right at the top of our website, there is a section that says back to school, and it looks like this. There's a little bar going right across the top, and if you click on that back to school bar, you're going to get all of that stuff that you need that we just talked about. How many levels of accounts do you have? Free and premium, 1,000 book limit. What if we want to keep more? Okay, good question. Yes, you are correct. There are 2 versions of Book Creator. There's the free version, which lets you make 40 books. There's the paid version, which gets you 1,000 books. Now, in my experience, and Catherine, you can correct me if you've seen anything different, but in my experience, 1,000 books is actually a lot. All right, it is a lot of books, and there are only a handful of times in the last 5 years that I have seen anybody come close to 1,000 books. And the reason is that once a project is done, teachers will archive the libraries, and what that does is it frees up the books that you would have used. So let's say I had 1,000 books, and some massive project that I did used up 500 of my books. Well, as soon as that project is over, once I archive the library, those 500 books come back, right? So it's always 1,000 active books, not 1,000 books total, 1,000 active books. So you can archive, and that frees up some of your space. The handful of times that I have seen where that doesn't really work is for teacher librarians, all right, and where they're working with every student in the school, every grade level, things like that. And if that ever becomes an issue, contact us, let us know, we'll talk about it. But for the most part, 1,000 books is pretty much enough to take care of some things. All right, and I was one of those, over 1,000 books. Yes, all right, so it does happen. All right, it does happen, but not a lot. And then Nicolina, can you repeat the part of multi-copying pages? Yes, when you work with students, absolutely. So for me, I make the students make their own book. So I just say, go to new book, make a book, design a cover. And then what you do is you go into your template book, click the pages button, and you'll see all of the pages of your template. Just click select the pages that you want, and then you hit copy to. You find the library that you're in, and you click on the little button at the top, and it check marks all of the student books, and you say copy pages, and it takes those 3 pages and dumps them straight into the back of everybody's books. All right. And yeah, Caitlin's comment, if you missed something or you want to see something again, obviously this video will be recorded and it will be on our YouTube channel a little bit later. Quick question, for a year, 50 students each make 20 books, and we want to keep their bookshelf link work throughout that time. Yes, keep their bookshelf links work throughout the time. If you publish the individual books, then the links will continue to work even after you archive the library. If you publish the whole library, then it won't work. All right, can you put a link to this video in the book? Yes, we can probably do that as long as Catherine and I remember to do that at some point tomorrow. once it's on our YouTube channel. I think I had 5 webinars before this one. Catherine's got like 6 or 7 tomorrow, so sometimes our brains shut down. But if we forget, then we apologize. The links are always available on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, search Book Creator, you'll get it. But we should be able to remember to do that. Looks like Catherine's going to put that into the calendar anyway. So we'll make sure we get that taken care of at some point. How long are the free premium licenses for? Oh, Catherine's already typing an answer to that one. Good. She'll get that answered for you.
I'll just answer it live. To be honest, I am not sure. Yeah. Do you know how long are they, John?
I want to say I heard something like 3 months. But I don't know that.
I'm not positive.
If that's something you're interested in,
they'll work with your school of how long you need them for.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody. Thanks for all your time. Have a great day. Be safe out there. Happy bookmaking. And Catherine, thanks as always. It's been a long time since we've done one of these.
I know.
Feels good. Back in the saddle.